In the vast forest of world literature, countless classic works have left their mark, but only a few have managed to profoundly influence the course of history. Among them, the American novel Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe stands out as one of the most impactful masterpieces of the 19th century. It became a bestseller, translated into dozens of languages, and sparked a wave of abolitionist sentiment across the United States. When I first read this book, I was struck by the turbulent and tragic life of Uncle Tom. I felt deep sorrow for the plight of African Americans in the southern United States, whose lives were trampled under the inhuman institution of slavery. The novel's powerful voice exposing the darkness and crimes of slavery left an indelible impression on me. However, it was only upon rereading the book that I uncovered another layer of meaning, its profound philosophy of life, subtly woven beneath its political narrative. In today's Becoming Better video, I'm excited to share with you the timeless wisdom embedded in this classic novel. I hope it will leave you with much to reflect on and inspire you to derive lessons about resilience and the art of thriving in life. May these insights empower you to live boldly and find happiness in your best possible state. Now let's dive into the ideas I'd like to share with you today. Excellence is like underwear. It should never be flaunted. A truly strong person never flaunts their superiority, just as a noble life doesn't require the embellishment of feeling superior. Yet, in life, many people rely on a sense of superiority to construct an invisible status, believing it elevates them above others. In contrast, there are those who earn genuine respect from everyone around them through humility and a heart that sees all as equals. Reading Uncle Tom's Cabin, you will see that true greatness does not stem from appearance, knowledge, lineage, wealth, status, achievements, or power. Instead, it arises from a place of ignorance and a heart deprived of contentment. The story begins in the 19th century before the American Civil War, in the southern United States, where white people dominated and African Americans were reduced to cheap labor. The protagonist, Uncle Tom, a black man, endures countless trials in a harsh and oppressive environment. At a slave auction, he is sold to Simon Legree, a plantation owner known for his extreme cruelty. Like many who profited from slavery, Simon viewed people merely as tools for profit. One harvest season, fearing the slaves would slack off, Simon appoints Sambo and Quimbo, two African Americans, as overseers. It was assumed that sharing the same skin color would make them empathetic to the plight of their fellow slaves. Yet, with a small taste of power, Sambo and Quimbo developed a strong sense of superiority. They abused their privilege by flaunting their dominance, whipping anyone who didn't pick enough cotton or punishing those who displeased them. They even exploited women, ruining families in the process, as if they were the true rulers of the plantation. Their behavior is a prime example of how the desire to assert superiority can distort one's humanity. As the French diplomat and writer once said, a man cannot look down on others with hatred and scorn while claiming to be superior. Similarly, the psychologist Alfred Adler explained in his seminal work What Life Could Mean to You that feelings of superiority often arise as a response to deep-seated inferiority. People strive to reach their ideal self, using their achievements to assert their value to the world. This pattern is universal. The overseers Sambo and Quimbo, once mere slaves, gained authority and immediately sought to dominate others. In everyday life, this dynamic manifests in various ways. A top-performing student may feel superior to classmates, an employee of the year may look down on colleagues, or a person with a beautiful partner may feel they are better than others. Superiority complexes can even appear in subtle forms, such as urbanites feeling superior to those from rural areas, the educated looking down on the less educated, or the wealthy assuming dominance over the less affluent. While the desire for superiority is understandable, it's part of being human in a materialistic society. It becomes problematic when people obsessively seek external validation. They may resort to boasting, comparing their lives to others, or even belittling those around them to prove their worth. At work, it might look like senior staff bullying newcomers. In schools, it might take the form of peer pressure, competition, or even social exclusion. However, as the saying goes, superiority is like underwear. The more you show it off, the more it repels others. The need to prove oneself stems from lack, When we feel empty, we seek recognition. When we feel inferior, we try to prove our value. Psychology identifies this phenomenon as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where individuals overestimate their abilities, often due to limited self-awareness. This is true for many, including Sambo and Quimbo, whose perceived dominance was nothing more than an illusion. In the eyes of their plantation master, they were expendable tools, easily replaced when more suitable candidates emerged. Ultimately, a sense of superiority is a distorted mindset. Only those with shallow, insecure hearts believe their wealth, education, connections, or achievements make them inherently better than others. As Osho once said, ego is nothing but inferiority complex standing on its head. The more one strives to prove themselves, the narrower their path in life becomes. Uncle Tom's second master, Augustine, was different from most of the cruel plantation owners. Augustine did not discriminate against black people, but his wife Marie was the complete opposite. Marie came from a wealthy family, had a happy marriage, and a staff of servants. She should have been the most contented person in the estate, but she was always sighing and complaining that no one truly cared about her. This unhappiness stemmed from her habit of placing herself above others, constantly putting them down to elevate herself. On one hand, she enjoyed the comforts that the unjust system of slavery provided, and on the other, she considered herself the savior of black people, believing that without her oversight, they would be doomed. After marriage, to ensure she had the best service, Marie went to great lengths to divide the family of her black servant, forcing her to follow her every whim. Marie's favorite pastime was to keep her servant awake all night and then complain about a headache, expecting everyone to attend to her. One day, when the servant inadvertently slept through the night and failed to notice Marie's headache, Marie became furious, accusing the servant of selfishness. She argued that her indulgence toward black people was the reason for such incidents. When Augustine advised his wife to put herself in the servant's position and stop breaking up families, she sneered and said, "A black person can't have feelings like you." However, in the eyes of others, the truly selfish, hypocritical, and incapable of caring for anyone but themselves was Marie. Over time, Augustine saw through his wife's character and stopped taking her complaints seriously. The servants, who had become accustomed to Marie's unreasonable demands, began serving her half-heartedly. Marie, trapped in her sense of superiority, grew increasingly isolated from the world around her. In real life, we encounter many people like Marie. Those who, after living abroad for a few years, return home or spend time on social media, caught up in the virtual world of self-promotion. You'll notice that conversations with people who have a strong superiority complex are often dominated by I and very little you. These people always seek to center the conversation around themselves, often belittling others to highlight their own strengths. They're quick to point out others' flaws while concealing their own. Because they are unable or unwilling to see their own shortcomings, they cannot make real progress in life. People with strong feelings of superiority often lack empathy and cannot put themselves in others' shoes. In fact, their sense of superiority never satisfies them, as they are not pursuing true excellence, but rather seeking to prove themselves better than others. As a result, their instinct is to praise themselves and look down on others, which leads to arrogance becoming a habitual trait. However, what they fail to realize is that adorning themselves with gold only makes them stand out, glaringly so, rather than offering warmth and comfort to those around them. True respect and sincerity come only when one can tame their sense of superiority and approach life and people with a heart of equality. It is only then that the path ahead opens up, and life becomes truly fulfilling. The highest form of strength in a person is to look down without arrogance and to look up without shame. In Marie's view, only force can tame all the people of color on the plantation. Augustine visits his brother's estate and sees his brother chasing a runaway slave named Scipio, a man with a powerful, muscular build who had fiercely fought off the overseers trying to control him. After a struggle, Scipio managed to escape, but Augustine's brother, furious, sent hunting dogs to track him down. Scipio fought back with all his might, but was eventually shot and injured. Augustine intervened, protecting Scipio and taking him as his own slave. He bought Scipio from his brother, took him to a room, prepared a bed, bandaged his wounds, and personally cared for him. Once Scipio fully recovered, Augustine gave him a certificate of freedom, allowing him to go wherever he pleased. To Augustine's surprise, Scipio, who had previously tried to escape, tore up the certificate, saying he didn't want to leave Augustine, even though his master might later suffer from a contagious disease. Scipio remained by Augustine's side, tending to him until his last breath. In reality, Augustine was not more powerful or influential than his brother, yet he earned Scipio's sincere loyalty. This was because Augustine abandoned the feeling of superiority and treated those beneath him with equality and compassion. If you're ever unsure whether to continue a relationship, observe how the person treats those in more difficult situations than themselves. Revering the strong is human nature, but treating the weaker with respect is not something everyone can do. When a person walks 1,000 miles and reads 1,000 books, when they have an equal heart and view the world as one, they will recognize their own smallness and realize that all achievements and glory are temporary. Only by letting go of the desire to prove oneself can one accumulate true strength. As Einstein said, when you look down on someone, you're getting close to failure. When you respect someone, you're near success. The greatest achievement and true character of a person come when they stand higher than others but remain humble and control their sense of superiority. The book Uncle Tom's Cabin is not just an anti-slavery novel, but a survival philosophy that exposes the true nature of humanity. In the book, when faced with his wife's criticism of their slave, Augustine says that if we were in their position, we might not do any better. Perhaps you'll find that when you unconsciously display superiority, it's because you're insecure and want to protect yourself. Each time you face challenges, you might wear an invisible armor, which could be your academic achievements, status, wealth, etc. The feeling of superiority becomes that armor. You may also unknowingly seek recognition or admiration from others, which leads you to adorn yourself with symbols of success such as wealth, fame, and accomplishments. But the more you embellish yourself with these, the less you can see your true self. In the long run, you may not even know who you really are. A person who cannot be honest with themselves cannot expect honesty from others. So, whenever you feel the urge to display superiority, ask yourself what triggered this feeling. Are you seeking validation or admiration? Are you critical or dismissive of others? Ask yourself if you want everyone to obey you completely. And don't think the story of fighting against an unjust society in Uncle Tom's Cabin is something irrelevant to you. From Uncle Tom's Cabin to Kill a Mockingbird, injustice arises from the sense of superiority of white people. And even today, racial discrimination, whether based on color, wealth, beauty, or other traits, still exists in our society. This is because each of us, at some level, is chasing or carrying a sense of superiority. But when you approach others with equality, without arrogance looking down, without inferiority looking up, without boasting, you will see that everyone is truly equal. All things become one with you, and you will no longer feel superior. You won't long to stand at the top or look down on those below. No matter your circumstances, you will not get stuck in the extremes of inferiority or superiority. This is the best state for a truly outstanding person. Moreover, you should know that only when you balance yourself can the world become fair. As American psychologist Daniel Goleman writes in Emotional Intelligence, the level of comfort you bring to others will determine how high you can rise. Finally, I want to encourage everyone to let go of the feeling of superiority, shed the invisible armor and the outward ornaments made of superiority, and embrace an equal heart while treating others with sincerity, just as you would treat yourself. Thank you for listening. If you found this video useful, please share it with those who need it, give it a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on new videos every week. Once again, thank you and see you in the next video.